Hello and welcome back to Inspirational Journeys, everybody. My name is Ann Harrison, and today I am talking to a children's book author. Her name is Rella B, and you write picture books, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah. So she does the picture books. I'm gonna let. I'm first of all, I'd like to say welcome, Rella.
Thank you for having me, Anne.
Thank you so much for being on the show. So why don't you start by introducing yourself?
Hi, my name is Gabriella, but I go by Rella B as my author persona, and also I have a YouTube channel, so I dress up as a character. She has special clothes, and she sings songs and reads books to kids, trying to encourage movement and literacy and just like having fun. So she has her own clothes and they're very bright and colorful. So I kind of made a persona that's separate than myself for that.
Ah, that's the intro because when I went through your Podmatch profile, I found your YouTube channel, and then I loved how you encourage movement, and then the riddle, and I guess the riddle after round two, by the way.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that was funny. I'm like, oh, I know what that is.
Right. I've heard good feedback as far as the riddles. I think I might start doing videos that are just all riddles just because it seems like people really like that. So, and they're fun. I like riddles.
Yep, that was fun. Um, so how did you know you were called to write?
This is something that I started doing when I was flying, actually, because my day job is a flight attendant. So, because I had so much time that I wanted to be used productively, I started journaling and I would actually just journal a lot of things about life. And then I was like, you know what? I should start writing again because I used to write poetry. I used to write short stories in school that were not just assignments because I like to write. So I've always kind of wanted to write. I just never made the time for it. And then when I started making time for it, I was like, okay, cool. Like let's explore this and see how it's going to work out for me. And then I actually lost all of my books because we're not allowed to have electronic devices on the plane. So I
Right.
would write it on the iPads that we had, their work iPads, and they would have a note section. So I wrote a whole bunch of books, probably like 20 of them over 5 years. And then they did an update and I lost all of my books.
Oh
So because
no.
of that, I was like, okay, I got to rewrite some of these and not only rewrite them, but actually publish them and make sure I'm backing them up because I never want that to happen again. So that's what really pushed me into this. And then I started doing the podcast as part of a way to support other authors, get other authors' works out there, and then to meet people, network in the author world. And then the YouTube channel is to kind of bring more light to author's work, my own work. And it's just very cyclical. With podcasts, I think it's nice because not all families want to be in front of the screen. So it's a screen-free option that is still really fun. It still has a riddle.
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, I love how you make the reading fun, but you also make it fun for authors to network with you too.
Yes, I'm definitely trying to just support other authors. It's been really nice having such a supportive network of people. I meet so many people on Instagram and I went to my first authors conference. It was called 20 Books to 50K in Vegas. And people are just so kind and so genuinely nice. It's really fun to be around them. So that has been really uplifting for me.
Well, just so you know, the reason I decided to talk to children's authors is because I am writing a middle grade a series. Or
That's awesome.
yeah, middle grade speculative fiction and fantasy series. So I'm like, I need to get into the K-12 world because that's where my story is right now, even though I'm editing other things. But that's where I started doing this. So do you hire your own illustrator? Do you when you publish well, first of all, let's talk about your process. When you write a book, do you just write it like the picture books, do you write those in one sitting? Or do you have kind of an idea before you write it?
So, um, my first two books I actually wrote in one sitting because the flights are normally, 4 to 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So I write it, then I send it to an editor that quickly looks over it and edits it. Then I create all of the illustrations that I want illustrated. I send those to a couple different people and I have them do a sample. Then I pick the illustrator that I like their sample and I start working with them. And then after I get the book back, then I send it to another editor to make sure that it's okay in its final form. And then after I get those edits back, then I have the illustrator edit it again with all the words on there. And then I send it to beta readers. And I normally send it to 2 or 3 beta readers just to see what their responses are. I like to get multiple opinions. And then after that, then I format it for everything so that I can publish it. That's what my process has been so far. I think I'm gonna have to send it to more beta readers next time, just because one of my books that came out, I think is a good book. I think a lot of people think that it's a good book, but I think that some people read into it in a way that it wasn't intended to be read.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm on the fence about making a second edition. But I think what I'm actually going to do is just make another book that deals with that subject because people are making the book something that it's not. And I'm like, this is a kid's book. You just read it how it is, and then you have a conversation about the book afterwards. It doesn't have to be um deeper. Like it doesn't have to have a hidden meaning because it doesn't.
right. But um oh, and that's interesting. Have you ever thought about having the kid some, parents read it to their kids, or if kids are old enough, if it's like a first like a if they're old enough to start reading on their own, have you ever thought about having kids read it or go through it with their families?
So I do one of both of my beta readers go through it with their children. And normally they'll have the oldest read it to the younger kids, and then they'll record the responses and send it back to me. And then I have one beta reader that's also an editor. So she reads it and she's a teacher. So she reads it for like comprehension and what grade level, what ages. And then my other beta reader reads it to her kids and or the child will read it and she'll help her with words. And then she'll let me know, like, I think my daughter struggled with this word, like maybe you should change this word, or maybe the rhyme isn't really good in this area. Um, but specifically, the issue that people have with the book is I have the book right here. It's called, I don't think it's gonna sh mm, it's called The Shapes Could Talk, but I won't show you it. But there's just a page in here. Um, and the little girl, the main character is a little purple rhombus, and she goes to hang out with her friend Maxine. And she started getting really jealous of Maxine's things because Maxine is polka dotted and, she's super cute and she doesn't have polka dots and she has a big pool, but the rhombus doesn't have a big pool. So she starts to kind of think like, well, why don't I have those things and why don't I look like that? And that was something that I struggled with when I went to school. And then she tells the little hexagon, she's like, you must never be bored. Like you have everything that I would ever dream of having. This is amazing. And then the hexagon's like, I am grateful for these things, but I actually lost my family and like I'm adopted. And she gets a little bit sad telling her that. And she's like, okay, I think it's time for you to go home. And then at the end of the book, the rhombus is like, you know what? Like, I'm really thankful for my family and like having them and being able to spend time with them. And that's the gist of the book. But have, people have been triggered, I guess, by the word adoption. Um, and that I don't go deeper into it. And I'm like, but the book isn't about that. The book is about being thankful for your family and what you have and not assuming that somebody else's life is better. Like the grass is not greener on the other side. That's the basis of the story. So it's just interesting that people take it in a completely different direction.
And it may have been based on their experiences too.
Yes, yes. But specifically someone, yeah, I guess. I think that the page needs to be rewritten possibly because they're reading it completely out of context. And that's not something that I had um thought was going to happen basically.
Right. I mean, but you have another idea for the book and then somebody interprets it differently.
Right.
And that's kind of, I don't know.
And I feel like that's probably unavoidable. That's probably always going to happen.
Yeah, it is. Because people are going to
So,
take what you write. You may have one meaning and they're going to be able to interpret it a different way. Sometimes that's good, sometimes not so good.
right.
So any tips that you have, any lessons learned that you want to share with the
Oh my goodness.
audience today?
I think if you're writing any book, you need to start marketing it 6 to 8 months to a year before you even publish it. I think that's what I would have done differently. I think for my next book, I will do a Kickstarter actually for my first book, my next one. Um, and then I'll have a team, a launch team. There's so many different things that I would have done differently now because I didn't have a launch team. I didn't really market the book before it came out. I just kind of silently published it, which I thought was going to be a good route. But I would just have a better strategy going forward and possibly consult someone about that strategy because I'm still pretty green in this space. But it's all been really exciting as far as learning the new things about being a children's book author.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. And I've learned about, I haven't done mine yet, but I'm learning about the launch team and the pre-orders and all of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, I'm excited for you to launch your book.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get it out sometime this year.
Oh, awesome.
I've still got some revisions to do and I'm in a critique group now, so
Oh, okay.
yep. So, now the latest book. Tell me a little bit about that one.
So that was, you mean the one that's not out yet?
Oh, you've got one that's coming out.
Yes. So the first two books that I published were If Shapes Could Talk, and then another one called Mama, I Got a Dollar. And Mama, I Got a Dollar is just a very simple story about a little girl who finds a dollar and then she learns different ways that you can use it. You can save it, you can spend it, you can be gifted money, you can give people money, you can do charity and all these things. So she's just going through talking to her family about getting different money. And then she goes to her uncle, and her uncle tells her, you need to be cautious about um, taking money from people because some people will give you money and then they expect interest back. So then he explains interest to her. So it's just a really simple, cute story about the different fundamentals of money.
Ah, okay. And so you got one coming out when?
So I haven't decided. It's written. I have the illustrator in place, and this is the one that I would like to kickstart, because the illustrator is amazing, but a bit pricey, and I don't want to go that far down the rabbit hole without kickstarting it. So I think I'm gonna start the Kickstarter in April, but I have a lot of really good marketing ideas, and I just want to make sure that it all works out really well. So I might delay it until July, or even June. I'm just trying to, I think it might be better in the summer because kids will be out of school
Yeah.
and families may be off, like might be off. And with my marketing strategy that I have for that book, I think that'll really benefit me. So
Oh, that would be good. Um, and you could probably, if you get it in the libraries, you could probably, you know, get it in the school libraries as well. I don't know how that works yet.
I'm looking into that. I've applied to get my book into a program called the Independent Authors or Indie Authors Project, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah, I get newsletters from them all the time.
Okay, and they have a section that you can apply for your book to be in your local libraries. But if it's in your local libraries, then it'll be in a database that's available to, I believe it's all libraries across the US and Canada. So I applied for that. They said it takes a couple of weeks to get back. So fingers
Oh,
crossed.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to hear how that Kickstarter project goes. Just keep me posted on that.
Okay, perfect.
So where can people find you online if they want to connect with you or learn more about your books?
Yeah, if you want to find out more about my books or my podcast or YouTube channel, you can go to RellaBBooks.com, or you can just type in Reading with Rella B for the podcast. Alexa will play it for you.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, Alexa will
Okay,
play the podcast. And
cool.
yeah, on YouTube, you can just type in Rella B Books.
So how did you get inspired to get the to start the podcast?
Because I didn't really know how to market a children's book. And I was like, you know what? If I start a podcast, then I can read my own books on there. I can read other people's stories. And I like interactive things for my daughter. She likes to watch a lot of cartoons and she's just like glazed to the TV. But I want her to get up and move. And I wanted to create the content that I felt was missing in children's literacy and in movement in general. Like there's certain creators that make content where it's specifically moving and dancing and singing.
Hmm.
And there's some that do a lot of literacy. But I was like, what if I can mix all of that together so that I can get kids to get up, move, and then get their brains thinking, what is this riddle? I know it's gonna have to do with the book. Like, what is the book? And then kind of build the anticipation and then read them a book, have it be engaging, go over the lessons. But ultimately it started as I just need a way to market my book and let people know what my name is. So I decided to start that. And then it became something beautiful. I've only been doing this since November. The podcast started November 15th, and the YouTube channel started November 30th or like December 1st, maybe.
Mm,
Um, or maybe December 15th, but either way, I've already gotten like 80,000 views and
nice.
almost 400 subscribers. So I feel like people are liking the content. It's just they don't understand what it is when they first see it. Because they're like, wait, why am I moving? This is a read aloud. And they have to, people that have watched it and subscribe are like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. And they keep reading. So I try to explain that at the beginning of the video, but
That is so cool. That fun and interactive for kids and I guess the kids at heart too.
right, right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been fun.
well, that is really cool. So any last minute thoughts or anything you want to share with the listeners before we close?
Um, I mean, ultimately, I think that as much research as you can do to publish your book, I feel like it's never gonna be perfect the first time. It'll be like a learning experience. So if I would have went back, I would have probably published a book that I wasn't in love with first. I would have done something else first because I feel like the two that I published, I was really excited about. And I'm still working to get them out there. It just, if I would have done things differently, it would have been a lot better. So as much research as you can do, and then maybe start with a smaller book or
Oh,
kickstart it first. Yeah.
yeah. Have you joined are you a member of SCBWI, the Society for Children's uh what is it? Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators?
No, so I've looked into them and Ally, and I think there's a couple other ones too. I'm on a lot of Facebook groups. I haven't joined a legitimate group yet. There was one other one that I looked into that seemed really nice. You have to do a membership for that one as well. I think it's called 20 books or not 20 books, but there's another one that's specifically for children's book authors too. And I just get overwhelmed by too many options, so I haven't picked.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, again, thank you for being on my show today. Um, and thanks for sharing some of your interactive the ideas with us and the inspirations behind the books. And thank you for what you do for kids for children's literacy today, especially in this day and age with all the devices and stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me, Anne. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. It was great to meet you and great to talk to you. So, we challenge you today to go out there and read to get inspired, write something inspiring, and share your creation with the world. For when you've touched one life, you've touched thousands. Thanks for joining us and have a blessed day.
Have a blessed day. Bye.